Well, now, do this immediately you hit the target of 100,000 Kenyan shillings, or maybe let's say $1,000, whatever you call it in your country, okay? Why? Because there is a crazy thing that happens immediately you hit that amount of money. You know what they say? The net worth, guess what happens? It skyrockets immediately when you hit the 100K. Let me ask a very simple question on this video. How many of you watching this video, if today I give you this amount of money, surely at the back of your head, you know, it will indeed transform my life. Okay, you can say it on the comment section. See, because honestly speaking, yeah, $1,000 may not be a huge amount of money if you're watching this video from the UK, maybe USA or whatever those Western countries, those great Western countries, But here in Africa, especially in Kenya, I mean, I'm telling you, you can get started some 100K. Yo, I'm telling you, this is a cash that if you had your brains in order, if you had everything in order, if you have the skills to do something with this amount of money, you can do a great thing with this amount of money. You can put your house in order. And some of you, probably they ask you, hey, you want to start a business, how much are you giving it? Most of the people, they'll give you a range of 80,000 to 100,000. Most of the people who are at the beginner level asking or say that you want to invest in a business, they always talk of about 80 to 100,000. Most of them, they tell you, hey, 100,000, I can start a cosmetic, I can start a salon, I can start a, whatever. There's like a thing that you can be able to start of that specific amount of money. And this is how it goes by. See, there's a crazy thing that happens. By the way, did you know this? If you didn't know, then let me then explain to you as you like the video, and make sure that you hit the subscription button if you haven't, and make sure that you comment on the comment section. All right? That's like telling me thank you. See, did you know it is way hard? It is way hard. It is way hard to hit 100K than to hit a million. How many of you will agree? It is way hard to achieve this target of hitting your first 100,000 in your life compared to you hitting the million. That is after now hitting the 100K. It is true. And obviously the reason is because of what I discussed some times back. Why? Because when you're starting, let's say you have zero Kenya shillings, you have nothing now, and the target is to get the first 100. And most of the people, when they're starting, this is usually their first target. But then even if you ask some Kenyans here, they ask you, what one would you say is like a presentable salary in Kenya? 100,000. Most of the people who earn this amount of money in Kenya, I'm telling you, I was about to say we are 1%. We are 1%. No, the issue is they are 1% to 1.2% around there. See what happens now. It's always good to proclaim good and great things to yourself. Okay. Now, because they say what you possess, what you confess, you possess. Now, what happens is that when the moment you earn this amount of money per month, or rather the moment you hit this target of 100,000, it becomes way harder to move from 0 shillings all the way to 100K. Why? Because at this particular point, you do not have the money. And guess there is a principle that says we use money to get money. Now, this is what I want you to immediately hit this amount of money. I know that's the reason why you click on this video. What you do when you hit this amount of money, you do not overly change a lot of things. What you do, you concentrate on what you are doing for you to go ahead and hit the amount of money. Why? Because this actually skyrockets the, what happens is that now the net worth skyrockets immediately after hitting this particular target. Why? Because now you not only have you, but guess what happens now? You have a trading amount. You have a trading amount. When I say a trading amount, I don't mean like forex trading or whatever. When I say you have a trading amount and you have now here you are leveraging on two things. You're leveraging on two things. Your skills that you had, the skills that you actually used to make the first 100,000, and number two, now you have the 100,000. Now what happens now is like having a tool. Let's say maybe you are trying to drive a wood, for example. This is a wood, all right? This is a wood and this is a nail. Now, I want you to drive this nail into that wood, but I haven't given you any tool. Probably you're gonna, what do you call it? You improvise. You bring a stone, you bring maybe another wood or something of sort to drive this nail inside that wood. Okay, takes a little bit of time because honestly, stone is not destined on, it's not the thing that we use to drive the nail inside the wood. So it's gonna take you time. It can injure you or something of sort. And that is the challenges that you face when you do not have any tool. That's when you're starting to 100,000. But now when you hit that 100,000, now guess what happens now? Boom. What happens? I'm not good at drawing, whatever the thing it is. Now you have a hammer. Let me just write the word hammer. Okay. Now you have a hammer that can now facilitate you to drive the nail into the wood. And maybe driving the nail into the wood, if you can contextualize that, it simply means now heading over towards the million shillings. Now, what happens now? You have you who has the skills. Okay, and now happens now, the skills now can actually leverage on the amount that you have to drive the nail into the wood, which basically is in our case regard to do what? And that's why you find the wealth actually skyrockets. The same case applies the moment you hit your first million. The moment you hit your first million, what happens is that it becomes a little bit easier to get the second million. It's true. For those who have ever done things, well, I know you may not be able to disclose it on the comment section, but if you can, then you can tell me the moment you hit your first million, then how long did it take to hit your second one, the third, and progressively? Okay, that is exactly what you're supposed to do. So the moment you get money, you can leverage on it. You can be able to go ahead and do something great about it. So the moment you hit 100,000, what you're supposed to do, it is to make sure that at least now you leverage on the skills, continue leveraging on the skill. A time will come when now you shake off the use of skills, you leverage now on the money that you have. Because let me tell you one secret, guys, there are two levels of life when it comes to making of wealth. The level A, or the very first level, is when you really do what we call the specialization of what you understand. Specialization in this case regard is when you leverage on what you call the skills. Maybe you are a teacher, you are a doctor, you are an engineer, you are whoever you are. That's how you make the money, and then you progress now investing that cash. Now what happens at this particular point when you really creating the wealth actively, you usually leverage on these specific things, the skills and what have you. But now later, what happens now, if you get now enough money, you can now leverage on. For example, let me explain what I'm talking about. Let's say we buy a product called X. This product called X, we are buying it at, let's say we are buying it at 1,000, okay? Now this product called X, we want to resell it, and this product called X is usually sold at a profit of, let's say it's usually sold at an amount called 1,090. Okay? That is the profit you make. Now, this is buying price, this is buying price, and this is the selling price. Okay? Now, what happens? Let's say you have 10,000. 10,000. Let's say you have 10,000 in your savings. So you're going to buy 10 of this X. You're going to buy 10X. All right? Once you buy the 10X, and then you're going to go ahead and make a profit of, you're going to go ahead and make a profit of what? It is 10 multiplied by 90. You're going to make your profit of 900. Right? And don't forget one thing. Everyone probably is selling this at this particular point. Everyone is selling it at this point. But now, let's say you are a millionaire. You have some cash. A little bit, you have the financial muscle. So what you can be able to do is buy the same similar thing, which is X. Now, this X, you buy it at the same amount of money, which is 100, or rather 1,000. Now, instead of now selling it at 1090 as everyone, you can bring your cost down and sell it at 1070. Right? You sell it at 1070. Now, what happens now at 70? Now you're making a profit of what? You're making a profit of 70. But now at each X that you're buying. But now instead of investing 10,000, you invest yourself, let's say, 2 million. All right? You invest yourself 2 million. Guess how much you're going to make? So it will be 2,000 of 10X, 2,000 of X because one costs that. Now it's 2,000 multiplied by how many? Multiplied by 70 shillings that you're making in each. Now that becomes what? That becomes 1, 2, 3, 4. That becomes around 140,000 or 1.4 million or something of sort. So it happens that you're going to make a lot. Now what happens? Let's say to buying from X to take that X to a place, it takes a little bit of time. Now, that is a business person having this amount of money. Now, an investor doesn't do that. An investor now, what happens is that they tell you, you have the 2 million, I'm going to add you 100 million. Let's go buy 100 million Kenyan shillings one, okay? You go buy that at this amount of money, but you are getting 70. Now what happens? I don't want the 70. Go ahead and keep the 50. Give me the 20. I'm showing you the level of self-employment, the growing money, the business person, and also being an investor. See, what happens now, you don't go buy the X yourself. You are an investor into a business that is actually buying this. Be like, okay, fine. Let me give you 100 million. Go buy that next that is costing 1,000 and you're getting the 70. Now, I don't want you to get the 7 because you are actually running all the nitty-gritties. Give me just 20, you get the 50. Guess what happens now? The 20 now comes in. It is way less. Can you now compare this? Compare the guy who is getting the 20 and the guy who is getting the 90. The very first guy who is getting the 90, who is selling as everyone. So it means this guy, the profit this guy is making is crazy compared to this individual. Now, this is an investor. This is when you detach yourself from the business. You're not running all these things. You just invest into a business. They do the thing. So there is a mentality of being an investor. There is a mentality of self-employment. That is being in a business. And then there is another mentality of you being an individual whereby you're just taking advantage. See, there's a difference between how the poor think, the rich, and the wealthy. So it's always good to have that mentality. Even if you do not have the cash with you, even if you do not have the money with you as of now, but it's always good to make sure that you transform your life or your mind so that at least you can be able to do what? Do greater things as you move to the next level. Even the Bible tells us, guess what? We should not be confined with the what? The occurrence of the earth, but be renewed by the transformation of our minds and whatever. That's what the Bible says. So it's always good to make sure that at all the time you feed your brain, because this is where we get a lot of things. This is where we usually get the progression. Now, this is what I want to tell you. See, the moment you hit that profit, you may not be able to give this 1 million, 100 million and whatever. I'm just giving you the example. The moment you hit this, now you leverage on the amount as much as you're leveraging on the skill. Once you leverage on the amount, don't keep this money idle. Why? Because now it should help you, because it's a tool that is making you. It's like me getting you hitting what do you call the nail with that wood, and then I can see there is a hammer at the sideline, and then I ask you, hey, why aren't you using that hammer to drive the wood? You're telling me I'm reserving that hammer for an occasional day when I want to drive the nail on the wood, but it's happening now. That is what you're supposed to do. So the moment you hit this usually the preliminary signs and the indications that you are kind of lucky and everything is actually moving on. The only need that you need to do is to be a little bit smart and be able to be or think a millionaire. You see, there's someone whom you can give this 100,000, they think of 1 million, and there's someone whom you can give 1 million. They have to squander this money and bring it to the level of their thinking. And the moment they bring it to this level, that's the time now they tend to think, and then they realize that they have squandered everything. So it's always good. And I always tell people this, yeah? So there's a difference between being a millionaire and having 1 million. If today you win a lottery and I give you, or maybe you win, like say 100 million, you're not a millionaire. No, you're a person with 1 million. Now, what you do with it progressively, it actually tells us whether you're a millionaire or not. There's a difference between having 1 million and being a millionaire. Those are two different things, because you grow with it, you understand it, and you can know how the process goes by. That is exactly what you do. Anyway, guys, guess what? That marks the end of my video. But the point is, if I may recap, go ahead. Once you get this amount of money, you have all the signs and dedication. What happens now? Don't only leverage on what you are used to do to get this amount of money. Do not put that aside again. Keep on doing that what you're doing, then think of what you can be able to do with this extra one, because now the journey from 100 all the way to 1 million bob, it is not as bumpy or harder as you may think, though it has its own hardness. Honestly speaking, I won't lie to you, making a first million is not a simple thing. It takes a little bit of time. Some people, they can make it at their 30s, at 40s, at 50s. Some don't even make it the rest of their lives. Some even I mean, what can I say? It is a thing that, because you do not know, you keep on pushing until that day it's gonna show up. I always tell people, show up every day. You never miss the lucky day. That is exactly how it goes by. Okay, so anyway, guys, don't forget to pick that number of mine from the description if you need any of my booklets about personal finances and all those kind of things. But it's always good to make sure that in any decision that you take when it comes to investment, consult your financial advisor to make sure that you're making the decisive decision that is quite appropriate and actually, appropriate for you. That is it for now. It's a goodbye and see you in the next one.